Welcome to NCIX Tech Tips. Today's episode is all about the Vesta 5550, or as the crazy Russian insists that I call it, the 5550. This is a premium brand gaming machine, so it's all ASUS, Corsair, and Intel that targets this magical $1,500 price point while delivering the latest technology. So it's got an Ivy Bridge 3570K processor and NVIDIA's all-new GeForce GTX 660 Ti at its heart. Now, even with the most powerful components at its core, it'll still be like unprotected and soft and exposed unless you have suitable gaming armor around it. So we've gone with the Corsair 500R case, which is available in a couple of different colors, but I think the crazy Russian will agree with me when I say that the white and black version looks outstanding. It also has fantastic cooling options, including a full mesh front panel on the case, full mesh on the top, with the option of installing another two 120 or 140 millimeter fans in the top. It's got a 120 or 140 exhaust, and it comes with a 160 millimeter side intake pre-installed that is suitable not only for the single GTX 660 Ti that's in there now, but even two if you wanted to throw an additional one in SLI. The case also includes white LED fans by default. Now, they look a little bit blue in the video. Don't worry, they are pure white. So there's two 120 millimeter white LED fans in the front and the 160 millimeter white LED fan on the side. They look absolutely outstanding. Now, on the rest of the front, you can see the front I/O. So you got your power and your reset switch, you got your USB 3, your front audio, your FireWire, your fan controller with low, medium, and high settings, as well as a switch for the LEDs on the fans. So it won't turn your fans off, but what it'll do is it'll separately control whether they're lit or not. So it's night, you want to sleep, you hit the little switch on your case, turn the LED fans off, bam, you're good to go. You've also got a convenient little storage tray on the top of the case, so you can throw your keys, your USB drives, some spare change or whatever else you want in there. It's pretty rugged, so you don't have to worry about scratching it. And I think that pretty much covers it for the cooling in the front of the case. So let's go ahead and turn it around and have a look at the back. Oh yeah, check this out. Filtered bottom intake. So the whole bottom of the case is pretty much an entire filter that you can just take out and clean, should you see fit. I mean, cleaning things is good, right? Right. So the overall concept of the cooling in this case, we have not installed additional fans into the top of the case. This maintains positive air pressure inside the case because we have a 160 and two 120 millimeter intakes and only a single 120 exhaust plus the power supply. So what that means is that it is more difficult for dust to accumulate inside the case. So this is by design, guys. If you did add 120 millimeter fans, however, I would use them as an exhaust because the natural airflow of the case is going to be from front bottom to top back. So just be aware of that, okay? I/O is provided by a P8Z77V Pro board. So that means you have four USB 3.0 ports, you've got PS2, two USB 2.0 ports, a wide variety of different display out options, including pretty much everything, HDMI, DisplayPort, DVI, and BGA. Remember, there is onboard video, and you can use the onboard video in tandem with your dedicated GTX 660 Ti graphics card, using the onboard video for video transcoding and the GTX card for gaming. You've also got Wi-Fi built into the back of the board, gigabit Ethernet, and 7.1 audio out. Now it's time to open up the system and find out what makes it tick. So the first thing you guys are going to notice is that when I undo these thumb screws, they don't fall off. So you'll never be running around looking for your thumb screws because they stay in the case even when you're taking the side panel off. You can see that this fan is plugged into sort of an abnormal relay. It's not using a normal 3-pin connector. That is what enables not only the fan speed control, but also the fan LED control that I showed you before. Inside, it just oozes quality and performance because you can see all the Corsair and ASUS logos all over the place. In fact, it's all ASUS and Corsair except for two exceptions. Number one is the CPU is an Intel 3570K. And for storage, it's using a Force 3 120 gig SSD for the OS, and then a 2 terabyte Western Digital Green drive for mass storage. So you're going to keep your games on there, your music, your movies, all your photos, that kind of stuff. Moving along to all the premium stuff we got in here. So you got your ASUS optical drive up here. You got your P8Z77V Pro motherboard. So this is with full SLI compliance And the system in general is actually fully SLI ready from the very start. So besides having an SLI ready board and an SLI ready ASUS GTX 660 Ti Direct CU2 graphics card, it is also got an HX750 power supply. This is a modular power supply, which means you don't see any extra cables in here, but it is fully capable of powering a second GTX 660 Ti if you see fit. And you can see, because of the spacing on the board, there will actually still be a space in between the two cards. So both of these Direct CU2 coolers, with their beefy, huge, thick heat pipes, are going to be able to get enough ventilation from that side fan that's blowing air down on them. Corsair Vengeance memory takes care of the memory department. It comes with 8 gigs by default, but you can easily upgrade it to more memory should you see fit. And the CPU is cooled by a Corsair H40. So that should be just fine for mid-level overclocks. However, if you do want to overclock your Ivy Bridge CPU to the maximum, you can reconfigure the system to add a Corsair H100 in the top instead, and that will give you better CPU cooling. So that pretty much takes care of the interior. All in all, because of the choices of components, because it's using a 3570K, which is above the base stuff that's no good for overclocking and is not quite the same performance level, but it's under a 3770K, because it uses a 660 Ti instead of a 670 or a 680, which delivers, 85% of the performance of a 670 with only, 70% of the price. This system, even though it's quite expensive at $1,500, is actually a compelling value. So we haven't cheaped out on any components, but we also haven't overspent on anything. It's a very good balance. Recommended upgrades, I guess, from my side would be probably throw in a 240 gig SSD. SSDs keep getting cheaper all the time, and it's a pretty good value to be able to store a couple more intensive applications, whether it's your Photoshop or whatever else on your SSD. It's so much faster than magnetic storage. I would also maybe throw in another 660 Ti if I was trying to get the absolute most out of it. And if you want to use it for video editing or other intensive applications that benefit from more threads, then you could throw that 3770K in there with an H100 and overclock the snot out of it. So I think that pretty much covers it. Thank you for checking out our episode about the Vesta 5550, and don't forget to subscribe to NCIX Tech Tips.